Hey, 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 Dr. Joe from Atlanta. Welcome to Your Wellness for Life. Happy Friday. For some of you, it's Fitness Friday. Today it's going to be Food Friday. We're going to talk about a food-related topic, and I'd like to invite my guest here, Evan Pohl, who's a personal trainer and nutritionist and lifestyle coach, and I know that he likes to cook a lot, and so he'll give us his little input on how you safely defrost things. So here we go.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Happy Friday.
You made it seem like I'm a good cook.
Yeah, you are a good cook.
I'm pretty good at making chicken, rice, and green beans in a bowl. Like, really good at that.
That's probably better than 90% of men.
Well, I mean, I've been cooking for myself since I was like 16 because mom was pretty like, if you want to eat what you want to eat, you cook it. I'm not going to make two meals. So it was all about the gains in high school. So,
And to be honest with you, back when I saw you cooking, I really wasn't that interested in it. So it really, watching you do it, and then you spur me on to kind of get more interested in nutrition, kind of got me started on that whole journey of nutrition and food, and that was about 15 years ago. So
yeah, well, I definitely know a lot more now than I did then. I was just following the big old steroid bodybuilders and what they ate. So I was just eating a bunch of chicken and rice and eggs and grits, and
yeah,
that's about it.
all right, so the topic today is how to defrost meat, soup, stews, and baked goods safely. Having a couple of bros talk about food and this, and they say, well, this may be more in the purview of a woman or something. But, there's chefs that are famous chefs that are men. So who knows? Maybe we'll be famous chefs someday.
There you go. I mean, you're pretty spot on with your soups and your stews. And not everybody knows that you like to bake pretzels on the weekend. And grandfather Teti, the European grandfather of mine, was pro bacon bread. So, and per usual, us Germans, he made it a little burnt and crispy, but that's how we like it. So,
yeah. So the backdrop to this is the following: when you went off to KSU and you were moving into the dorm room, I think you guys had a community kitchen, right? I think there were like 3 or 4 of you. You each had your own room. You had your own bathroom. And then there was a community kitchen. I think there was a full-size refrigerator in there, if not mistaken.
Yeah, which is like way too cushy for a freshman in college.
So back,
full kitchen.
So back when I went to college at University of Richmond in Virginia, my room, was cinder block, and there was a sink there, and there was a community bathroom down the hallway where I remember I woke up one Saturday morning and there was like 2 inches of water everywhere. Someone the night before had turned on all the sinks, plugged the drains, and there was 6 inches of water in all the hallways. My room was downstairs, so you could see the water kind of pouring down from the corners of where the cinder block was in the ceiling, and everything was just a mess.
He pulled a Home Alone. That one guy, they wanted to be their calling card was the water bandit or something like that. So they basically just turned on all the water appliances and just soaked the house. So he pulled I forget what he called it.
Yeah,
everybody's gonna know my.
So people are wondering, what does that have to do with this? Well, back in those days, you had to have your own little refrigerator. So everyone got one of those little cube refrigerators. And growing up in Germany, I still remember our main refrigerator in Germany was those cube refrigerators come in a style that's also just a little taller. Our main refrigerator was that. And I'm willing to bet, even in Europe, to this day, the refrigerator is no bigger than that, because in Europe, people don't freeze and store the stuff. They don't have a freezer in the garage and store a bunch of stuff, because guess what happens half the time? Unless you inventory it and you're very careful about it, you've got all this stuff stored in there. You have no idea what you got in there. And half the time, you probably never use it. You keep buying new stuff. Your mom's been pretty good about kind of going through there periodically and say, it's time to eat this before we need to throw it away.
Right.
So, and our freezer, I remember, was this tiny little thing inside the refrigerator. So we didn't really store much. We didn't freeze. We kind of ate what we cooked, and what was left over was put in the fridge, and then it was kind of leftovers, for lunch the next day. And so there wasn't stuff that we froze and, kept for how long, for a rainy day.
You probably didn't let things go bad. You probably started with a meat and a potato and some sauerkraut, and whatever you guys didn't eat the next day became a soup or stew, right?
Correct.
There you go.
Meat, potatoes, and some kind of a vegetable. All right. So, but we're in America here, and we store stuff in the refrigerator and in the freezer. And you need to know how to safely defrost things, especially meat. So we'll end up with meats because that's the most touchy subject. But you got to do it safely because you don't want to get some kind of a foodborne illness. And so it's very tempting to kind of take whatever is frozen and be impatient and put it into something warm, like warm water. Well, you never want to do that. And the times that I've done it, and your mother has said, "What are you doing? Put it in cold water." I said, "Well, I want to put it in warm water. It'll defrost faster." No, what it does, what happens is the outside layer of that meat starts cooking. And
Well, I guess about the water that's being poured on, if it's cold, it's still going to be warmer than what it was frozen.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to talk about defrosting meats and soups and stews. We're going to lump them together, and then baked goods. So let's start with the easy one, defrosting baked goods and breads and stuff like that. The good thing about this is that you can't get a foodborne illness from it. So this is the safest one to freeze and the safest one to thaw back out. And what's that? So the easiest way to kind of defrost bread, it really doesn't freeze that much. You just put it out, room temperature, and then crisp it up in the oven, 350 to 450 degrees for a few minutes, and it'll be good to go. And then any other baked treats like cookies and brownies, you can thaw out and then you can bake it. So the bread one's kind of easy. The next one, soup, sauces, and broths.
Well, the bread's kind of like day old pizza. It's cold in the fridge, and then you want to warm it up, so you just put it in the oven real quick and recook it. Yeah,
slices of baked pizza can go from freezer to oven, and so that's very unique about pizza. And you can typically just bake it at 375 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes on a baking sheet or on a pizza stone. And a pizza dough is also very handy to keep in the freezer, to make pizza. And today's Pizza Friday.
Yeah. Do you have a pizza stone?
Yeah.
How do you clean that? Is there a cleaning protocol to that?
I just clean it with soap and water.
There you go. I guess that was a dumb question.
Just dry it off. Yeah. Once you heat that thing up, it's gonna kill anything that's on it. Okay, so let's talk about soup, sauces, and broths. If you have enough time, you want to go ahead and let these thaw out in the refrigerator. Again, if you got something frozen, you're thinking, oh, let's put it in something warm. Just put it in the refrigerator. The refrigerator is going to be warmer than what's in the freezer, and it'll thaw out. The problem is, too many times it's kind of a last-minute thing and say, oh, we're going to freeze this out. We got to cook it in the next hour. So, if you don't plan, you plan to fail, right? If you fail to plan,
the biggest takeaways of the whole convo is going to be you gotta plan in advance and know when you want to eat it. You kind of have a rule of thumb of how long it's going to take it to defrost, and don't just leave it out. Put it in the fridge. Is that because there's more bacteria and stuff like that roaming around, and like just the regular air? You want to put it in the fridge instead?
Yeah, especially if your soup's got some meat and stuff in it, but if it's already cooked, you're probably going to be good to go. Again, this is pretty safe as well, as long as it's already cooked. Again, meat's going to be the problem. So let's go ahead and talk about meats. See if there's anything else about soups and sauces. Sometimes it can take several days to kind of thaw out something that's fairly large. Oh, if let's say that soup or stew is in let's say a plastic container, um, you may want to um, put that in something warm, and so loosen it and put it into a different container, just so that the sides of whatever the stew that you're kind of trying to thaw out is not flush up against whatever the container is. Take it out so it's got a little air
Room.
barrier to it.
There you go.
Room to thaw out. And so the safest way to do that is just to run it briefly under tap water, loosen it up, take it out, and then move it into something else. All right, so let's talk about meat. This is the problem, and this is the one we really need to pay attention to, because you can get foodborne illnesses if it's not handled properly. So there's this pathogens love being in the sweet spot of 40 to 140 degrees. So you either want to be colder than that or you be warmer than that. You keep it in that range too long, you're more likely to grow some kind of a pathogen. So leaving your meat out to thaw on the counter shouldn't be done unless you're watching it probably really closely. You should never leave food out on your porch or other places outside the thaw. The easiest, safest, and most forgiving spot to defrost meat is again in the refrigerator. And verify with an appliance thermometer that your fridge is between 32 to 40 degrees. Familiarize yourself enough with your refrigerator to know where the especially cold spots are, so you can slow down the thawing, so it doesn't slow down the thawing process. So keep thawing the meat in a clean bowl or plate to catch any leaks. The time will vary depending on the size of the meat and your refrigerator, but the U.S. Agricultural Department says to count on at least 24 hours per every 5 pounds of a large cut, such as a turkey, and at least a day for smaller items such as ground meat or chicken breast. Cook thawed red meat within 3 to 5 days, and ground meat, poultry, and seafood within 1 to 2 days. Refrigerator thawing is the only defrosting method after which you can safely refreeze the raw food, though you may experience a loss of quality.
So you can unfreeze it, but if you don't want it, you can freeze it again.
Correct.
Interesting.
So if you refrigerator thaw it out, refrigerator thawing is the only defrosting method after which you can safely refreeze the raw food. On food and cooking, water is a more efficient medium for transferring heat to meat than air. So that's why you want to put it into something, if you can, put it in something in a body of water, while still keeping the surface of the meat out of the warmer and micro-friendly temperatures. That's why a cold water bath in a bowl on the counter or on the sink is another recommended strategy for thawing meat. So either letting it just thaw out in the fridge, or putting in a cold water bath, not a warm water bath. It'll start cooking the outside surface of it. And be sure the meat is in a leak-proof bag or packaging. Whether you place a plate or bowl on top to keep the food submerged is up to you, though doing so may speed up the process of thawing a little bit. And regardless, change the water every 30 minutes to wash your hands each time as well. That's a good idea. And it takes about an hour of water bath per pound of food. And food thawed by this method should be cooked right away and cannot be refrozen while raw. So if you're going to do something other than refrigerator thawing, if you're going to do this, make sure that you cook it, don't refreeze it, and then you can refreeze the cooked meat, but don't refreeze the thawed out meat.
So about 5 pounds is going to take about 24 hours to unfreeze in the fridge. Yeah. What if did I miss when you say when it's already cooked and you freeze it? How about another 24 hours or?
Yes, as long as you thawed it out and you cooked it, you can refreeze that.
Right, but like what if you cooked it but you didn't want it now and you froze it? Maybe that's another 24 hours.
You can only refreeze it if you thawed it out just sitting in the refrigerator. No warm bath, nothing else.
Well, I'm saying, like, say you made like a bunch of brisket.
Yeah.
and you didn't want it now and you wanted to freeze it and you froze it that it was cooked. I guess to unfreeze it again, like down the road, like, because like somebody might kill a deer and cook a bunch of the deer meat or something like that, and like save it for a couple months. I guess probably since it's cooked and it's frozen, probably just another 24 hours, just like you would if it's raw. Got
Should be fine. Yeah. And then if you're a pinch, which is a lot of us, we kind of don't plan ahead, and it's kind of like, oh well, what are we going to eat for dinner? And hopefully, maybe you're going to make these decisions early in the day. You can do some microwave thawing. And there are a few risks here, including that you may begin to cook or overcook or dry out the meat. That's kind of like putting it in a warm water bath. Also, warming the meat in the microwave means there's a lot of good things going on for potential pathogens again. And that's why microwave thawed food also needs to be cooked right away and cannot be frozen until it is fully cooked. So again, just to review, if you're going to thaw out meat, the only way to refreeze raw meat is if you just thawed it out in the refrigerator. No warm bath, no microwave thawing. If you're going to refreeze it, make sure you cooked it all thoroughly. And defrosting in the microwave can be a bit of a trial by fire. Again, some risk there. And you can cook meat and poultry from frozen with relatively slow methods such as oven roasting, which gives the heat time to penetrate to the center without drastically overcooking the outer portion. Whatever method you choose, and whether you started with frozen food or not, be sure to have a thermometer handy to ensure the food has reached a safe minimum internal temperature when cooking.
How many people do you think follow these guidelines?
I don't know. The other thing is when you're cutting raw meat, you probably should be doing it on a plastic kind of counter, not wood, because it's going to be porous and then you're going to get pathogens in it. And then you better scrub that piece of wood really well with hot.
Slips and cracks, right?
Yeah. So the easiest way to defrost a frozen loaf of bread is to place it wrapped on the counter for a few hours. Meat, we talked about putting in a cold water bath or just defrosting it in the refrigerator. All right, so I think we killed that one.
Well, the beauty of roasting and cooking in bulk like that is you have a plan for down the road. So this is a whole nother meal prep aspect to your fitness journey, which is huge. If you buy a bunch of meat and you freeze it, you defrost it when you need it. Usually the beauty of that is, you're buying deals, or you don't have to go to the grocery store a lot, which is huge with COVID right now, because you don't want to be going to the grocery store all the time and being around people. So buying in bulk, freezing it, and then taking it out when you need it. But obviously, planning in advance is huge. So, you can start with, like I said earlier, you can start with the defrost of a meat. You could cook it. If you don't use it, the beauty of thinking like meal prepping is you can take the meat and then you can build into a soup after, or stew or something like that. So,
people that go hunting, I've got some families that go out in the Midwest and they hunt elk, and they, divvy it up, and each person's portion is still fairly large. They're gonna have to divvy it up. They have to freeze that up. So they're gonna have to store that somewhere. That's hundreds of dollars, maybe even a couple of $1,000s worth of meat there. Or if you go someplace to on an organic farm, and you're getting some organic meat, it may be fairly large, and you're going to have to store that frozen, so that you're not going to be able to eat all that at once.
Definitely.
All righty. So thank you for joining me on this topic: how to defrost meat, soups, stews, and baked goods safely. And on this Food Friday, don't forget about your fitness, and we'll catch you all next week, right?
Have a good one. Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Dr. Joe from 2YourWellness4Life, thank you for joining. We had an interesting discussion about how to defrost meat, soup, stews, and baked goods safely. The meats are the ones that are the most critical in thawing out correctly, so don't get a foodborne illness. And I hope you have a wonderful Friday. There's still lots left. And I hope you have a wonderful Super Bowl weekend. And we'll catch y'all tomorrow. Dr. Joe from Atlanta. God bless and bye.